Today we're going to talk about the pelvic floor and how yoga and breath both relax the pelvic floor and also strengthen the pelvic floor. And so I'd like to show you this model of my pelvis, and particularly just reminding ourselves of the general anatomical landmarks. And so this part here is the pubic ramus. And often when we think about the pubic bone, we're thinking about the top of the pubic bone. And when doing our pelvic floor work, we're going to see, can we bring our attention actually to the lower part of the pubic bone as a general location of attachment for the pelvic floor. We're going to think about this bone here, or coccyx, or the tailbone, as well as the ischial tuberosities, or sit bones. And so I'm showing you here the pelvic floor, and we have here at the front, so if I was laying on my back, or if someone was laying on their back, we would have this top area here, which is the superficial perineum. And then if someone was laying on their belly, the posterior triangle that we see here is the deep layer of our pelvic floor. And so the general area is in the shape of a diamond, or we can imagine as a kite at the base of the pelvis here. And when we do these exercises, we're going to really bring our attention to what's happening at the front triangle, which is this area here, and also what's happening in the back triangle, and bringing our attention to balancing these two parts. And so when we're doing work with the pelvic floor at first, feel like everything is tightening, or maybe we notice that the posterior triangle is tightening. And so how can we bring equal energy to the entire triangle? And in addition to this, we'll add in also the muscles of the vagina, and I'll explain more with different specific cues how we can activate these different parts of our pelvic floor. And so in yoga, one of our priorities will be to support our pelvis through stabilization and activation of the pelvic floor. And also, it's important to learn how to relax the pelvic floor. Our culture really emphasizes, I think, a strengthening or an over-tightening of the pelvic floor, and really teaching people the difference between what it feels like when these muscles are contracted versus when they're relaxed is really useful in childbirth. And so we want to learn how to really relax the pelvic floor, and to also apply different levels of effort to these muscles in the body. And as we move through the asanas, we may choose at times to activate the pelvic floor to find stability in the pelvis. And other times we may really want to practice what it feels like to allow the whole pelvic floor to relax. And so let's take a moment to find these landmarks on ourselves. And so I invite you to feel your ischial tuberosities, or sit bones. And so we can place the hands just underneath the pelvis. And then shifting your pelvis from side to side, feel your ischial tuberosities moving on your hands. And then we'll also shift from back to front, and just noticing what that feels like. And then finding your tailbone. We'll find the tailbone just at the top of the gluteal cleft, so just at the top of the crack, and then finding your pubic bone and walking a little further down. So remember that lower part of the pubic bone. And then we can rest the hands on the knees, and just taking a moment to visualize that beautiful diamond shape, or that kite shape. Our deep perineum muscles are considered to be called also the pelvic diaphragm. And the pelvic diaphragm is synchronized with our respiratory diaphragm. One really helpful way to teach new students, or to even reconnect to this part of our bodies ourselves, is through the breath, and we'll try that a few times. And so I invite you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, visualizing that diamond shape at the bottom of your pelvis, at the base of the pelvis, and then keep exhaling until you find the end of your exhalation. So we'll feel that lifting of the pelvic floor just naturally occurring. And then inhaling, visualize that softening and relaxation of the pelvic floor in a downward direction. And so we can take a few deep breaths with your own rhythm. As you inhale through your nose, we imagine relaxation, softening. And as you exhale, keep exhaling until naturally you feel the lifting of your pelvic floor. And one nice kinesthetic way of feeling that natural lift is you can imagine that you have a lozenge or a candy at the top of the roof of your mouth, and with your tongue making a suction with your tongue, and notice how that lifts the pelvic floor. And so we'll just explore what that feels like with the suction, the roof of the mouth. And then we'll use an audible exhalation as though we are blowing out through a straw. And we'll try that a few times also to see which of these different ways really helps you connect to your pelvic floor upon the exhalation. So let's inhale through the nose and exhale through a straw. And inhale through the nose. Exhale. And one last time, inhale. And exhale. Notice in that last one how the lower abdominals also begin to activate. And so we'll also feel how these different muscle groups are all cooperating to create that pelvic stability. And so the next activity that we'll try together is finding that lift with the exhalation. And so I'd like you to imagine that in your vagina is a really beautiful pearl or blueberry. And what we're going to imagine is we're gently tightening the vagina around the pearl or the blueberry, and we're going to lift it just a little bit upon the exhalation, and then inhale to relax it fully. And so we'll try that a few times. And using your own rhythm of your breath, I'll cue some breaths, but you can just do what's comfortable for you. And so we'll inhale deeply, imagining everything relaxing. And then exhale. And so feel the pelvic floor lifting. Feel the tightening of the vagina gently around that blueberry or pearl. And then inhale. We can relax. And so we'll try that a few times. With every inhalation, really feel the pelvic floor is moving down and spreading, relaxing. And as we exhale, it's as though we're flying our kite. Imagine a thread lifting from the center of your pelvic floor. Feel that lift and then release. And so this time, let's find the activation of the pelvic floor. And I'd like to invite you to hold the activation, but to continue to, in a relaxed way, breathe in and out. And so we'll take a deep breath out together and a deep breath in, a deep cleansing breath. Relax your jaw. And then inhale, exhale, and feel the lifting of the pelvic floor. Continue to exhale. And then hold that contraction, that activation, and see what happens when we take an inhalation. And so for some of us, maybe we lose the contraction of the pelvic floor when we do that. If that happens, then find your next exhalation and we'll activate the pelvic floor, lifting the pelvic floor, and then inhale again and see just, is it possible to maintain the same level of engagement of the pelvic floor muscles. And then inhale to softly release. Very good. Other ways that we can work with this exact same practice is in a slight inversion. And so from a puppy position or a very gentle inversion, it can be easier to find that feeling of stabilization and activation in the pelvic floor, or even laying on the back. And so you're welcome to try the rest of these laying down on your back if you'd like to. And so with gravity, especially in pregnancy, the demand on the deeper layers of our pelvic floor are increasing as the weight of the organs are pressing on the pelvic floor. And so you can try that laying down. You can also try it in an example is puppy pose, any kind of gentle inversion. And I'd like to incorporate next a combination of all of these different ways. And so this is the elevator. And what I really like about it is it contrasts different intensities of contraction of the pelvic floor and also teaches us what it feels like to relax in a gradual way. And so we can start really building up our resourcefulness and relaxing as well as stabilizing our pelvic floors. And so let's find a comfortable position. You're welcome to lie down, or if you'd like to continue in a seated position, that also works. And visualizing the front triangle and the back triangle, that diamond shape. And also becoming aware of the center of our pelvic floor. And so to do the elevator, we want to imagine that full relaxation is 0. And so 0 is when it's completely relaxed. And then 1 is we can imagine that we're going up 1 floor, and then 2 to the second floor, a little bit more contracted, and then 3, a little bit more, and then the top level is 5. And then we'll see, is it possible to continue to breathe and to go down to the 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, and then relax. And we'll try that. And so visualize the triangle, the front and the back triangle. Is it possible to relax any tension that you find there? And we're going to visualize that we're flying a kite. So we're kind of lifting the whole pelvic floor. And inside the urethra, or inside even the vagina, we can imagine that there's a pearl or a blueberry, and we're lifting it up these different floors. And so let's take a deep cleansing breath, inhaling, and deep exhalation. And inhale, and deep exhalation. Again, inhale, and exhale. Very nice. And then taking a deep breath in to begin, and out. And continue to breathe. So we're going to engage the pelvic floor to 1st floor, 2nd floor, and continue to breathe. 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor, and then notice what you feel. And we'll relax to the 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, and then release. We'll try that again. So taking a deep breath in. Exhale, 1st floor, continue to breathe. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor, and then relaxing 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, and relax. And then let's try one more time just on your own. Visualizing the whole pelvic floor lifting, noticing when we lose the contraction also of the pelvic floor. Is it possible to return to a natural breath and start again? Really helps to find that activation upon the exhalation. So if you've lost the contraction, just come back to your exhale and then try again. And we may find that at first maybe we can only do like three floors. And then over time, we can really develop that connection and dexterity and control in the way that we use our pelvic floor. And so our ideal way to use the pelvic floor is for it to naturally engage when we need it and to provide stability when we need it. And as we're retraining our pelvic floor, we can incorporate these exercises to really build the connection, the mind-body connection, and to really develop our awareness and strength also of the muscles of the pelvic floor. And now I invite you to relax. So you can take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Very good. And maybe taking a few deep breaths on your own. And bringing your awareness one more time to the pelvic floor and asking yourself, is your pelvic floor relaxed? Do you feel tension on one side or the other side? And slowly release.